Welcome to Real Estate Radio Power Investing, an informative and engaging hour discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate investing. Your host, Tom K. Wilson, provides you with insight and guidance from his years of experience as a successful real estate entrepreneur on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate, and much more. Now, here's your host for Real Estate Radio Power Investing, Tom K. Wilson.
So nice to have you back with us today, and thanks for tuning in to our Real Estate Radio Power Investing program, where we empower you with the education to maximize your investing success. We're broadcasting from the #1 business radio station in the San Francisco Bay Area, KDOW AM 1220, the Wall Street Business Network. I'm Tom K. Wilson, your host for this weekly program on real estate investing. If you can't make the live show, you can catch our podcast on TomWilsonProperties.com or on iTunes or on YouTube. And you can go to TomWilsonProperties.com for all of our podcasts with past guests that we've had on, including Dr. Doug Duncan, Chief Economist of Fannie Mae, Bruce Norris, Robert Kiyoski, John Schaub, Peter Fortunato, and many other celebrities and very well-known experts in the area of real estate investing and economics. So today we are very fortunate to have on with us Kim Kiyoski, whom I've had the pleasure of knowing for a few years. And Kim is a longtime real estate investor, entrepreneur, speaker, radio show host, author, and she's also the co-founder of the Rich Dad Company with her husband, Robert Kiyoski. Kim, thank you for taking the time to be on the program today.
Oh, thanks for having me on the program, Tom. Really looking forward to it. I love to talk about real estate.
Oh, what a surprise. Well, I know you also love talking about empowering women to be leaders in business in general.
That's exactly right. I think right now the world is pretty messed up, and it's time for women to really step up and get out in front and really be the leaders and the role models that women need today.
Well, I have a wife who was a nurse for 33 years, and a daughter who's a veterinarian. So I was one of the first ones to step up when they started the Bring Your Daughter to Work
great.
program, and I was always proud of that.
My dad was always very supportive because I was the youngest of 3 girls in the family, and he always was very supportive of me doing whatever it is I wanted to do, and he kept saying, you can be whatever you want to be. And so I had great parents and a great upbringing in that regard.
I always love looking back on people's lives and asking them or learning what in their crossroads and what milestones happened that maybe they didn't realize at the time, but really shaped their future.
Yeah, that was one. I remember my dad telling a story. He was a head of sales in the printing company, and he hired like the first woman sales representative, and he was so encouraging to her and educating her and wanting her to succeed that it really said his demonstration spoke very loudly to me that women can really succeed well in business. The other turning point with my dad was that when he was in his early 50s, he was running for president of his company against the CFO. And so oftentimes sales and accounting clash heads. Well, the accountant got the presidency and they did clash heads, and so he was fired. And I was probably about 22 at the time, and I remember going into his office and I was so angry because he was such an honest, hardworking man. He had kind of devoted his life to this company, and I vowed that from that point on, I would never work for somebody again, that I would have my own business.
So that was a game changer for you.
That was a big game changer.
Mm-hmm. And you were involved in an advertising agency business, and you were in the publishing business and a clothing company, all of those before you got into real estate, didn't you?
I was. I started right out of college. This was my first job. I did have a job with an advertising agency in Honolulu. And after about 9 months, I was fired. And, I thought it was my boss, and I was blaming her and this, and she was terrible, and da-da-da-da. And then the company hired me back, and this time in 6 months I was fired.
So why did they fire you these 2 times?
The first time she fired me is because she wanted me to be at my desk all the time. And I understand that. But what I didn't realize at the time is once I had finished the tasks she had given me, I would go to the sales department and help them, or I'd go to the production department and help them, or I'd go to the accountant services or the art department. And what I didn't realize at the time is she wanted me to learn a job, but I really wanted to learn the whole business. So she could never find me when she was looking for me. So I deserved to be fired.
Okay. Well, you were...
And the second time I got fired was because I had already just started my first business. And it was just a very small business at the time, but my mind was already there 100%, not in the job.
You had those entrepreneur seeds that were planted early, and plus you had an environment that let you observe.
I did. And even when I was very young, my mom, I'll never forget, my mom used to say to me, she goes, "Kim, if you don't want to spend your life in a kitchen, don't learn how to cook." And I'm like, "I'm there, Mom. I got it." And to this day, I still do not know how to cook.
I think that's maybe one reason why flippers never get to investing, right? They're so engaged in the flipping that it's they can't back away, or the thing will collapse. So they just never get off that treadmill.
Exactly.
Tell our
got to keep flipping.
Yep. Tell our listeners how you and Robert met, and then how you got into the real estate investing business.
Robert and I met. Actually, I was living in Honolulu. He was in Honolulu. I was moving to New York City. I figured that would be my next big venture. And so he started asking me out, and I'm like, "No, I'm moving to New York City. I really don't want to." And so he asked me out for several months. And
he can be persistent.
He's very persistent. He's a good salesman, absolutely. And one night I said, "Okay, let's just get this over with. Let's just go out tonight. Let's get it over with. Let's be done with it." And so we met that evening, and he asked me 2 questions. And the first question is, "What do you want to do with your life?" And I said, "I want my own business, because I have not been successful as an employee, and I hate being told what to do. I absolutely hate it. So I want my own business." And then the second question he asked me, he goes, "What's your life's purpose?" And I'm like, "My what?" And I had been on this journey for about 2 months. I kind of discovered there had to be more meaning to life than going to work, getting a paycheck and paying my bills, and going to work, getting a paycheck and paying my bills. So I was on this search. I wasn't sure what I was searching for. And when he asked me that question, I'm like, this is what I'm interested. This is where I want to be. And when I said to him I wanted my own business, he said to me, "Well, I've started several, and all of my friends are entrepreneurs." And I'm like, so from that night on, we have been together ever since.
Wow. How many years has that been, Kim?
November will be 31 years married and 33 years together.
Congratulations.
How
wonderful.
It's been quite a journey.
Yes, I'm certainly an endorser of that institution. I'll be celebrating my 50th anniversary with my bride in a few months.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's fantastic. Wonderful.
So what led into, well, first of all, apparently he'd already absorbed some paradigm shift information from his rich dad.
Yes.
And he was now not only was he absorbing it, but he was now already trying to present that gift out to others. It sounds like, and inspire others to think about what they want to do with their life.
Yes, absolutely. When we got together, we had a business before the Rich Dad Company where we were teaching entrepreneurship. And the very first company I started before that, actually after our first date, I had my first business about 2 months later. And what I did was I designed a logo and embroidered it on shirts and sweaters and jackets. And the purpose of the business, because I believe every business must have a purpose, the purpose of that business was to pay for my airfare, hotel, registration into business conferences around the U.S., and then I would set up a booth and sell my products at these conventions because I wanted to learn how to run and grow a business. So I spent a year, I've created a business so that I could learn more about how to build a business. And then after the year, then Robert and I started off together on a business that we taught entrepreneurship throughout the world.
So how did this evolve into real estate investing?
Well, then we were building our business, and as we always say, the way our formula has always been to build the business, and then the money from the business pays for your real estate. So we were building that business up, and it was finally started to take off after about a year, and we started getting a little bit of money in, and then he said to me, it's time you start learning about real estate investing. And to be honest, Tom, I had no idea what real estate investing was. The only thing I knew about investing was stocks.
I think
I heard about.
I think most real estate investors don't know much about real estate investing.
Yeah, you're right. I think you're absolutely right.
I thought I did after holding properties for 30 years, and then I went into it, seriously, and then I thought, oh my gosh, all that time I thought I knew something, I knew nothing.
Yeah,
and of course, and there's not a day that goes by I don't learn something new. But at any rate, he decided you should get some education in real estate investing, huh?
Yeah, and it's exactly as you said. It kind of started as a hobby, but he started to teach me a little bit about what his rich dad taught him about real estate. And he said, okay, now go out and go find something. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And I literally just bumbled and stumbled around, where we lived and the neighborhoods and things like that. And sure enough, I found this little 2-bedroom, 1-bath house, very cute little house. And it was only like 3 blocks from where we lived. It was a great rental neighborhood. And I was scared to death. I had to come up. It was $45,000 cost. This was 1989. I had to come up with $5,000, which we didn't have, and I was scared to death. What if I lose money? What if I make a mistake? What if the roof leaks? What if the tenant moves out? And I was, petrified. And I was actually looking for a reason why not to go through with this deal, because that would have been easier, because there were so many unknowns, because I'd never done this before. Mm-hmm. But long story short, I finally did cross that line, came up with the money, bought this little 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. And every month after I collected the rent, paid the expenses, paid the mortgage, I had a whopping $25 positive cash flow in my pocket. And that's how I started.
Well, and kind of like your first love, you never forget your first house, do you?
No, I wish I had it. I wish I had it.
Go ahead.
I went online a few months ago and saw the last time the house sold, and it sold for about $400,000. So I'm like, I should have kept it.
Yeah, but I bet what you did with those proceeds wound up leveraging quite a bit.
I did. That is a rule Robert and I have, that any dollar that goes into the asset column stays in the asset column.
All right. We got Kim Kiyoski on here with us today, a longtime real estate investor, entrepreneur, speaker, radio show host, and author. And we're so honored to have her with us. She's certainly a very successful businesswoman on her own. And we'll be back and ask him some more questions here in a moment on Real Estate Radio Power Investing on KDOW.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Power Investing. Streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, visit TomWilsonProperties.com. That's TomWilsonProperties.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Power Investing, Tom K. Wilson.
It's a treat to have Kim Kiyoski on our program today, longtime real estate investor, entrepreneur, speaker, and certainly a very successful businesswoman in her own right. And she's also certainly promotes empowering women to be in their own business, and has written some books like Rich Woman and It's Rising Time. Have you written a third one yet, Kim? Or
no, not at this
two?
point, but we're I'm about to launch a new product at the start of the year.
Okay.
So we'll keep your listeners informed on that one.
All right. What inspired you to write Rich Woman and It's Rising Time? I've read It's Rising Time.
Oh, thanks.
But
Thank you.
And I have it with me here today, honorably autographed by you.
Fantastic.
Tell us about those books.
Yes, I wrote Rich Woman because Robert and I, with the Rich Dad Company, we would travel all over the world, teaching the Rich Dad philosophy and the lessons of Rich Dad. And it didn't matter if I was in San Francisco or LA or Singapore or Jakarta or South Africa or London. After the talk, I would be encircled with women, and the women in all these different cities had the same questions and the same answers. And I say often that the how-tos of investing, and this is we're talking all about money, the how-tos of investing, how do you purchase real estate, how do you sell a stock, that's the same. But the issues for women around money are very different. And Tom, if I could just share a couple of statistics to make the point, is that, in the U.S., and the trend is the same in most major countries, that about 1 out of 2 marriages ends in divorce. And her standard of living, on average, goes down after a divorce 74%, while his goes up. And oftentimes she ends up with the kids, so now she is in a situation where she doesn't have the financial means. She has to get back to work in many cases if she's not working.
Mm-hmm. And are these stats, are these U.S. stats?
These are U.S. stats.
Okay.
The trend is similar.
Why does the man's standard go up?
I think his goes up like 19%.
Mm-hmm. Okay, go ahead.
So at that moment, she kind of finds herself in a financial crunch.
Oh, yes.
But even more surprising is that of the elderly that live in poverty, 3 out of 4 are women. Yet 80% of those women today living in poverty were not poor when their husbands were alive. So he passes away. She has no idea what's happening with the money. Mr. or Mrs. Helper come along and say, oh, I'll help you manage your money, and the next thing you know, she's broke. So too often, women, especially as we get older, more and more of us find ourselves in a financial crisis because not only have we not been expected to learn and take care of our money, but we've actually been taught to depend upon somebody else, be it a husband, a family member, or the government, to take care of us.
Well, of course, I guess a little bit of that tradition is just because biologically, right, the woman's been the nurturer for the family, right? So
exactly.
So it's hard to probably do that well and be a businesswoman at the same time, but obviously you can be.
Yes, and that's why I'm such a big advocate for women in entrepreneurship, because with the web today and technology and the tech world, you can be an entrepreneur very quickly right from your home, so you can be with the kids. Or I have a girlfriend, she and her husband have just sold a business, they're starting a second business. She includes her kids in the business. So it's changing very, very rapidly, the whole world, in terms of business and in terms of money. So my whole bent is that we work very, very hard for our money, all of us, and to turn it blindly over to somebody else to take care of or depend upon somebody else for your financial future. Even if you're married today, who knows what could happen tomorrow? I mean, accidents happen. So it's really to take care of you and your family, you've got to be financially educated, financially literate, to know what you have, know where it is, and most importantly, know how to grow it. Because we work hard for it. Why would we blindly turn it over? Nobody's going to take care of your money better than you will.
Probably just in general, for anyone, male or female, just being totally dependent on someone else, whether it be a corporation or your husband.
Exactly.
You're really putting yourself at high risk, aren't you? So,
yeah.
Kim, we'll have you back here in just a moment for a wrap-up segment. We have Kim Kiyoski on with us today, real estate investor, entrepreneur, speaker, and author. And it's a delight to have her on with us here on KDOW AM 1220, the Wall Street Business Network. This is Tom K. Wilson on Real Estate Radio, Power Investing. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Power Investing. Streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, visit TomWilsonProperties.com. That's TomWilsonProperties.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Power Investing, Tom K. Wilson.
We have Kim Kiyoski on with us today. Kim, if I can ask you a personal question, how are you and Robert are very busy. You're both very experienced and busy speakers and go to so many events. How do you and Robert kind of divide up your business responsibilities, and how do you deal with this heavy travel and speaking schedule, both of you?
That's a good question, Tom. We've done it for so long. Since we've met, I mean, we were traveling since 1985, so it's very much a part of our lifestyle. And
you're almost like a rock band, huh?
Yeah, we're getting off the road a little bit more now. We really are out of the day-to-day operations of the company. One of the reasons why we got together is we both love marketing. We're both marketing people. Sales, promotion, both of us are driven by that.
Right.
And
I love that too. Yep.
Yeah, yes. And so little by little we had to build up our team, whereby today we're very, very fortunate. We have a fantastic team. So we're both out of the day-to-day operations. You know, I'll come into the office like 3 times a week, or we have our radio show, and I meet with our CEOs and president. But so it's actually a lot of fun, because now when we travel for events, we pick the cities where we really want to go to. We work very, very well together. We're both very independent, so we allow, everybody's got their space to do what they want to do, but we just make a very good team. And I think one of the keys, because I get this question a lot about couples who work together, I think one of the keys for us and for successful couples that work together is that you have to be aligned to the mission and the vision and the philosophy. And we've always had very similar visions and missions from day one. So I think that's what keeps us going. It's never been about the money. It's about how many people can we reach. The more people we reach, the more effective we are, the more we learn. So it's always been very mission-based, and I think that alone is what drives us. When we hear stories from people, we run into them, and they say, I'm financially free because I've bought all this real estate, and it's cash flowing, and it's all from Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That's everything to us.
We've got about a minute left in this segment, so I just want to say, Kim, thank you so much for all the gift of what you've taught, literally millions of people through your books and speaking engagements and so forth, and how you've changed those lives.
Oh, well, thank you, Tom. Thank you for the work you're doing, because we're all going in the same direction, and I love real estate, and every person I talk to, economists, very successful people, they say, with the whole economy, what's going on, one of the things that is key to own today is real estate and land. So keep doing what you're doing, and keep encouraging people to keep investing in real estate, because I am the queen of cash flow. They are my 2 favorite words, cash flow.
And how can people get more information on what your events are coming up, and more information about you?
I do have a Facebook page. It's called The Real Kim Kiyoski, and you can always find out about us at richdad.com.
Okay, and you're getting ready to go on speaking engagements in Europe, right? The next.
Yes, my 3 girlfriends and I were all entrepreneurs. 3 of us are investors, and we're doing 3 one-day events for women only in Finland, Sweden, and Estonia. And it's very fun to get a group of women together where we leave the roles of women, of mother, of wife, of business person, leave all those roles at the door, and we just kind of talk about everything that is needed and wanted right now. So I'm really looking forward to those events.
Wonderful. Well, I'll have safe travels, and thanks again, Kim, for being on the program. It was a pleasure having you. I look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you, Tom. It was a lot of fun and my pleasure, and I'd love to do this again with you.
Thank you, Kim. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Power Investing. Streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, visit TomWilsonProperties.com. That's TomWilsonProperties.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Power Investing, Tom K. Wilson.
Well, we've had the pleasure of having Kim Kiyoski on the program as our guest today, and Michael Marangelo, who is the president and founder of Bay Area Wealth Builders Real Estate Investment Organization up in Marin County, and also founder and owner of Sunvest Properties Solutions, is with us in studio today to talk about some takeaways from that conversation. Michael, welcome back.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. It was a nice interview. It's very gracious for her to come on. It
is, isn't it? She's I've enjoyed getting to know her a little bit over the years at events I've gone to, and she's a gracious lady who's certainly an inspiration to everyone, not just to women. What are some takeaways you got from?
Well, a couple of things that I heard, and is that she talked about working for yourself, that entrepreneurial spirit that burns bright for a lot of people. She echoed that sentiment, and that as a business owner, you can develop certain skill sets, and if you become very proficient at those skill sets, those are unique to you, and ultimately you really never become fireable, as my old buddy Jack Miller used to say. And I'm sure there's a lot of people in this area that can relate to that have been involved in startups and other types of industries where they've suffered those downturns and upturns as well.
It's it's an easy trap to get in, isn't it? If you're dependent on someone else, whether it be a company or a husband or whatever, you're so busy keeping that going that it's really hard to kind of bootstrap yourself out of that rut and go take the risk and jump into something on your own.
Yeah, she also talked, and had made a very good point, and that is about that every business must have a purpose. And there's a lot of people that get into business for themselves, I think, without that in mind. They may have a hobby that they enjoy, and they want to evolve that into a business, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a business with a purpose that ultimately is going to produce profits for them and long-term growth. So I thought that was a very good point that she made.
Mm-hmm. And that couples, successful couples, will generally have agreed upon mission together. It doesn't necessarily mean they have to work together or be a business, but they've got the same goals and they're on the same track and on the same page.
Oh yeah,
not that that's the only ingredient that's required, but that's certainly an important one that maybe I would guess most couples, maybe even a lot of business partners, right, never get around to setting and agreeing on the same goals.
Well, disagreements sometimes can be good because you hear different viewpoints, but she obviously mentioned in her discussions too that she was very empowering of women, and I thought that was something that was really interesting to hear, and especially the traditional roles that women have played in the past, how that has evolved and changed over the years. And also she was very astute in commenting that tech has played a big part in that people are able to work out of their home or work mobily and get things done, and that doesn't tie them or anchor them to a household necessarily.
Right, and they can still then play the traditional biological nurturing role of raising the family and still operate a business without having to deal quite as much with daycare issues and things like that.
Well, I'm sure it's challenging. I think we should have asked her about what apps she's using.
Yeah. Yeah. See, certainly it sounded like what inspired her to inspire women to be less dependent was the fact that we got a huge percentage of divorces in this country and around the world, and the women often are kind of left stranded, and they didn't have a career, and now they're struggling to try to make ends meet financially. And she wants women especially to get some kind of financial independence so they can make it on their own.
Yeah, that was a staggering statistic, and I think that as she mentioned, usually when there's a separation, that the male's income tends to go up and the female's income tends to drop. And so from the
I think she said like 70-some% or something.
The numbers were rather significant. Yeah. So the fact that you can fast track and learn on your own and take advantage of some of the technological influences that we have today is very empowering. And I thought that was great that she made that point.
Mm-hmm. And so to promote her philosophy and to help others, she's written 2 books, Rich Woman and It's Rising Time. I've read It's Rising Time. And she goes around not only the country but around the world speaking. And I've had the good fortune of hearing her speak a few times. She's very, very inspiring, very motivating, very bright lady that really rallies folks to go advance themselves.
Yeah, the insights I'm sure she's gotten, of course, with her husband Robert and the work that they've done, I'm sure has really given her quite a life experience.
Mm-hmm. I find that I think a problem that even someone like Kim, who is so well known by her own right and successful, I'm sure it's tough at times. I would guess to probably being introduced as Robert's wife, right? Which just probably amplifies what she's trying to teach people to be independent and.
There's a little bit of a paradox there, right?
There is, isn't it?
I suspect.
Yes.
But I think it's all in good stride.
Yeah. No, indeed, Robert is certainly the more well-known one, but most people don't realize that she co-founded the Rich Dad Company. Yeah. So
I did not know that. I did not know that till you mentioned it, actually.
Yeah, a fascinating story. So we'll be back in just a moment for a little wrap-up thoughts here. We have Michael Marangelo in the studio with us today, talking about the interview we had with guest Kim Kiyoski today on the radio program. Certainly a very inspiring woman, an author and entrepreneur. And Michael is the president of BAWB, Bay Area Wealth Builders, up in Marin County, and he loves education as much as I do. Stay with us, and we'll be right back for a little wrap-up.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Power Investing. Streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, visit TomWilsonProperties.com. That's TomWilsonProperties.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Power Investing, Tom K. Wilson.
Nice to have with us today in studio Mike Marangelo, who's the Bay Area Wealth Builders founder and president, the longest running real estate investment organization in the Northern California. And also Michael was here with me to listen to the interview with Kim Kiyoski today. And it was very inspiring, as she is indeed. You have a couple more takeaway points there, Michael?
Well, I like that she talked about real estate and touched on real estate and how her businesses and the profits that they derive from their business have been funneled into property. And she seems to speak very highly of loving both property and land. One thing that she did share with the audience is her discussion about how she bought a property and regrets having sold it years later. And I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah, including, I guess, Peter Fortunato, right?
But, real estate can be that simple. It can be as simple as buying something with the right terms, the right ability to have it provide cash flow so it pays for itself, and do nothing else but just hold on to it. You don't have to sell, and I think too many people get caught up in complicating those things.
Good point.
So I think it was refreshing to hear her revisit that she had regret selling it because the property had appreciated quite a bit over time, and had she just kept it, perhaps maybe she would have felt differently.
Yes, and even though we know good real estate investing is a analytical process and factual based, we are humans, and it's tough not to have a little bit of emotion involved with it. So it wasn't interesting to hear her say that just recently she went back on Google Maps to go visit the very first house that they bought together.
Yeah, she was a property stalker.
Yeah. Yeah, it's and my guy, certainly your first house, right? Like your first love, right? You never forget that one.
Right. What is that worth today? You know, and I think that speaks to also not just in this area of the country, the Northern California market, but really anywhere. Is that if a property can pay for itself and you hold it, that is an asset that will continue to produce fruit, so to speak, for ages.
And you don't have to worry as much about what the market's going to do, because if it's cash flowing, you can ride out a storm with it. So, Michael, thank you for being on with me today to take a look at some takeaways from Kim Kiyosaki's interview today. She was certainly a very inspiring lady who's promotes financial independence, just like her husband Robert does. Has written a couple books on the topic, and and travels around the country and around the world to teach that to others. So we invite you to go to TomWilsonProperties.com for education information. You can sign up for our newsletter that comes out weekly about what's going on in the world of real estate around the country and economics. Also gives you access to commercial syndications that you can only get access to by signing up. And we also have a lot of education information on there, including all the podcasts that we've had with Kim Kiyosaki and Michael Marangelo and Robert Kiyosaki and Bruce Norris and Dr. Doug Duncan and Sean O'Toole and many, many others who are experts in their field that have taught us so much. So thanks for being with us again today. And remember, the only thing that matters is what you do next.
We'll be right back.